In this lecture, you'll learn about the toast component. The toast component is used to push notifications to your visitors. Here's an overview of the toast component, and let me just reload. So we can see that we now have all toasts on the screen, and after 3 seconds the second one disappeared, and after 5 seconds the first one disappeared. The delay is by default 5 seconds. We can change that delay, which we saw in the second example. We can also disable the auto hide feature, so you need to click a button to make it disappear. We can also disable the fading animation, so it disappears instantly. Here we see that toast is translucent. We can see part of the background shine through. We can also see that we can stack toasts, so they have some spacing in between. We can also add custom content, so here we have a close button instead of this closing icon. So we can click that to make it disappear. And finally, we have different ways to align and place our toasts. In the first example, we're using position utilities to position it. And this big white space here is on purpose so that we can view the code here. This is because these examples lives in an iframe. Here we have multiple toasts positioned using position utilities. You can see that code as well by clicking there. Here we're using flex utilities to position this toast in the middle. Let's see how we create all of this. In our code editor, we start by creating the default toast. We do that by using the div tag with the class toast, the role attribute with the value alert, and the area live attribute with the value assertive, and the area atomic attribute with the value true. So these are all meant for accessibility reasons. I won't discuss those in further details now. Next up, we'll create the toast header using a div tag with the class toast header. Inside of this, we'll add a strong tag with the class me_auto to add some auto margin in the right side, which will push this element to the left side. And in the right side we have this small element with the text 9 minutes ago. After our toast header, we'll create our toast body using a div tag with the class toast body. The text will be toast body text goes here. Now let's save and see what happens when we preview this in the browser by selecting the screencast tab here. So we cannot see it. This is because we need to initialize this with JavaScript ourselves. So down here I will do just that, and I won't go into too much detail on how to do this. You can do it in different ways, and this course is not about teaching JavaScript. But I'll create a variable called toast elements. Then I'll use the query selector, all. That was a spelling mistake. Query selector all like so on the document to get all elements with the class toast. Then I'll add a for loop, variable I equals 0, as long as I is less than toast elements dot length, and then increment the I variable like so. And then I'll create a new bootstrap.toast component and pass in the selector toast elements and then the index the I variable here, and then run the show method on it. Just like so. Let's see what happens now. I'll refresh, and now we see the toast appearing because of the JavaScript. After 5 seconds it will disappear right there. Now let's see how we can change different things regarding the toast. So first we'll look at the delay. Back here in the code, we'll go up and copy this example and paste it in. Now to change the delay time, we'll add a data BS delay attribute with the value 3000. So this is milliseconds. Let's save this, go back and refresh. And now the second one should disappear after 3 seconds, right there, and the other one after 5 seconds. Now let's disable this auto hide feature by pasting in the code again from before, and then we'll add the data BS auto hide with the value false. Let's save, go back and refresh, and now this won't go away. But how should we make it go away then? We need to add a little bit more. We need to add a close button. So we do that just after our small element by adding a button tag with the type button and the class btn close. And for positioning, we have the ms2 to add some margin in the left side, and mb1 to add some margin in the bottom. And then we add the data bs dismiss attribute with the value toast and the area label with the value close. And no content should go inside of the button element. Now let's go back and refresh. And now when I click this close button here, it will disappear. Next up, we'll see how we can disable the animation. So we'll copy this latest example right there, paste it in. And now we'll add one more data attribute, data BS animation with the value false. Let's save this, go back and refresh. See what happens when we click it. It disappears instantly without a fading animation. Now we'll demonstrate how these toasts are translucent so we can see the background shine through. We'll start by creating the background using a div tag with the classes bgdark and some padding with the class p3, and then paste in the code here. We'll save this, go back and refresh. So here we have our toast with the auto hide disabled, set to false, and we can see the dark background shine through in the toast body here. We can make it disappear if we want. Now let's see how we can stack these toasts. To do that and get the proper spacing, you must wrap them in a parent element with the class toast container. Like so. We can paste one toast in here and one more. Now we'll save this, go back and refresh. Here we see that they are now stacking with space in between these two toasts. Now we'll see how we can use some kind of custom content inside of our toast. We'll scroll a bit down and paste in the code for the toast with the auto hide set to false. So now we want to remove the toast header. So we have the toast body left here, and we want to adjust this. So we'll keep the text here, and then we'll add a div tag with the class mt2, pt2, and border top. So we are creating our own custom toast footer with this border at the top and proper spacing. And then we'll add two buttons inside with the type button. And the classes for the first one will be btn, btn primary, and btn sm, so a small button with the text action. The next button will get the classes btn, btn secondary, and btn sm, and the text close. And we'll also add a data bs dismiss attribute with the value toast. So by clicking this secondary button, we can actually close this toast, just like we could with the other toasts when we were clicking on the close icon. So we have saved this, we'll go back and refresh and take a look. Here we see our toast. There's no close icon in the top right corner since we removed the toast header, but we can click on this close button to make it disappear. Now let's take a look at different options for alignment and placement. First, we'll take a look at position utilities for a single toast. Now to get to this code, you must locate the folder here, toasts, and placement position. And for the other two examples, placement position stacking and placement flex inside of the toasts folder. I have them open right here. So now we'll create that. First, we'll create a parent element, a div element with the class position relative and border. And then we'll add the area live attribute with the value polite and the area atomic attribute with the value true and the style attribute with the value min height 212 pixels to see these examples in the best possible way. Inside of this, we'll now add or paste in our toast here, and we'll modify this parent element for the toast by adding some more classes. Position absolute, top 0 and end 0. This will now position this absolutely in the top right corner of the parent element, which we have right here. So we're using these position utilities directly on the toast. Let's save this, go back and refresh and take a look. Here we see it's being placed in the top right corner. Now let's see how we can do this with multiple toasts. So in our code editor, we'll take the next file here in the toasts folder. Then we'll create our wrapping element, div tag, class position relative, border, same as before, area live, polite, area atomic, true, and the style attribute, the value min height, this time 335. Once again, this height is to provide the best possible example in the browser. Now we'll add a div tag with the class toast container, which we have learned we must use when we want to provide the correct spacing for stacking toasts on top of each other. So this container will now add position classes to this. Position absolute, top 0 and end 0. Inside of this, we'll paste 2 toasts like so. So the difference on this and the previous one is that for the previous one we had the position utility classes directly on the toast, and for this one we have the position utility classes on the toast container that wraps around 2 toasts. And wrapping around this container we have the same parent as before with the position relative class and borders for styling and a few more attributes as well. So now let's go back and refresh, and here we can see the 2 toasts stacking on top of each other and being absolute positioned in the top right corner using position utilities. The final example, we'll get to that now, using flex utilities to center our toast in the middle. We'll go back and select the third file in our toasts folder that I showed you. And now I'll create a div tag with the area live attribute with value polite, the area atomic attribute with value true, and now first the class border to add a border around this element. And for positioning, we add the deflex to turn it into a flex container, justify content center to center it in the middle horizontally, and align item center to center it in the middle vertically. Then we add the inline style with the min height of 310 pixels to better see this example. Inside of this div element we paste our toast. Now we'll save this, go back and refresh, and here we see our toast being placed right in the center, both horizontally and vertically, using flex utilities. So this was all about the toast component.